A distinctive species with fine zebra-striped plumage and a long and shovel-shaped bill giving a fang-like appearance, typically feeds by swimming in tight circles. Like many water birds in inland Australia, it moves around a lot and can be found in very large numbers when conditions are right. A distinctive white swan with a bright, rather duck-like bill. The black wingtips are usually concealed when swimming, most likely to be confused with white domestic waterfowl. Fairly common but sometimes local on lakes, slow-moving rivers, wetlands with open water, estuaries, and inshore coastal waters. Often in groups and associates readily with black-necked swan. Cygnets are dirty brownish with a black face mask, but young look much like adults within a month or two after hatching. Name comes from slightly gruff, honking, Costco roa, call. Very large, heavy-set pale grey goose found across parts of coastal southern Australia. Note pale yellow and slightly drooping bill, mostly seen as pairs or loose flocks, scattered around coastal wetlands, salt marshes, and grassy pasture areas. Basically unmistakable and is just what the name says, a swan with a black neck. Fairly common but sometimes local on lakes, slow-moving rivers, wetlands with open water, estuaries, and inshore coastal waters. Often in groups, locally hundreds in winter, and associates readily with Cosgroba swan. Cygnets are pure white and soon develop a dusky neck. Within a month or two, after hatching they look like adults. Unmistakable large black swan with a red bill. When swimming, this species is almost entirely black. Wings show extensive white flight feathers. When flying, juveniles are similar but dark gray. In Australia, compare with magpie goose, which has white belly and white underwing with black tips. Typically found along inland waterways, rivers, sewage ponds, and coastal lagoons and inlets. Sometimes flocks together in enormous numbers on large wetlands. Huge white bird with long neck, reddish-orange bill, and black face. Adults have a black knob on top of the bill. Immatures are dusky brown with a gray bill, native to northern Europe and Asia, but introduced in many regions, where it is now common on ponds, lakes, and calm coastal waters. Very aggressive toward native waterfowl, often seen in pairs or small family groups. Immense swan of frigid northern regions, breeds on the tundra, and steppe in winters and marshy lakes and wetlands, often in wild areas. Fairly straight neck, short tail, and sloping bill distinct from mute swan. Told from smaller bewicks, tundra, swan by larger and pointed yellow patch, at base of bill, also lower pitched, and more bugling calls. Juvenile often dingier through first winter than juvenile bewicks. Juveniles of both usually found with adults as family groups. Huge white bird with long neck and all black bill. Immatures dusky gray-brown with pink on bill. Forages in shallow, vegetated wetlands reaching under the water for plants, and walks through corn stubble. Breeds in freshwater marshes and ponds. Winters on any open body of water, where food is available. Extremely similar to tundra swan, but never shows yellow on bill. Also, note subtle features of face. Facial skin is relatively broad, where it meets eye, so the eye doesn't stand out, and border between white face and black bill is straight curved on tundra. From head on, the border of the bill and forehead is usually pointed, straight or curved on tundra, often in pairs or family groups. Almost went extinct in early 20th century, but population has rebounded and been reintroduced to some areas. Huge white bird with a long elegant neck. North American whistling tundras have a mostly black bill, with a yellow spot near the eye. Eurasian bewicks have a more evenly divided black and yellow bill. Immatures dusky gray-brown with pink on bill, easily confused with whooper and trumpeter swans, where their ranges overlap. See those species accounts. Breeds on ponds and tundra in far north. Winters in large flocks on fresh or saltwater. Forages in shallow, vegetated wetlands, reaching under the water for plants, and walks through corn stubble. Gives loud echoing bugles, often while in flight. Small, short-legged coastal goose. Distinctive black head and neck with small white necklace. Some variation in belly and flank coloration across subspecies. Black brant, mainly of western North America and eastern Asia, is darkest with contrasting white flanks. Breeds on tundra in the high Arctic, winters in salt marshes, rocky coastlines, sheltered bays, and beaches. Typically uncommon to rare inland. Almost always seen in flocks, only rarely mixing with other geese species. Small and stocky rare goose with a small bill. From a distance, appears dark and dull, and often blends into flocks of other geese. When seen well, note the rich rusty breast, and striking rusty and black and white head pattern. Mantle is dark and finely barred. White flank stripe is prominent on land and in flight. Also note the all-dark underwings in flight. Breeds on the high Arctic tundra, on islands, and coastal habitats. Winters mainly by the Black Sea. A distinctively marked goose with neck feathers that have a peculiar front appearance occurs in wetlands, grassy areas, golf courses, montane shrubland, parks, and even lava fields with sparse vegetation. May associate with feral domestic waterfowl in parks. Males aggressively defend nests, common and widespread on Kauai, more locally distributed on Maui, Hawaii, and Molokai, rare on Oahu. Call is a typical goose-like honking. A large brown goose with a black neck and white chin strap. Overall size, bill size, and brown coloration variable across subspecies. Occurs in any open or wetland habitat from city parks and golf courses to pristine marshes and Arctic tundra. Typically in flocks or family groups. Often seen in mixed flocks with cackling goose, especially in central and western North America. Canada goose is almost always larger, longer neck, and longer billed than cackling, although beware there is some overlap between the smallest Canada and largest cackling. Abundant and widespread throughout the US and Canada, rare in Mexico, introduced and widely established in Europe. Listen for loud honking calls, especially as flocks migrate overhead in the classic V formation. Handsome and distinctive, a rather compact and fairly small goose with big white face patch, silvery upper parts, and black neck and breast sharply demarcated from white belly. Breeds mainly in Greenland, Iceland, and Spitsbergen, and locally around the Baltic Sea. Winters in farmland and grassy wetlands mainly in coastal lowlands throughout northern Europe. Free-flying feral birds resident locally at lakes and parks in the UK. In main wintering areas, occurs in hundreds or even thousands. Elsewhere, singles and family groups can be found among flocks of other geese, rare but increasing visitor to northeastern North America, almost always with flocks of Canada geese. A small, short-necked, stubby-billed goose. Size and shape are best identification clues. Note more rounded head, shorter neck, and smaller bill on cackling. Some are only slightly larger than mallard, usually very similar in plumage to Canada goose, but some cackling have a more prominent white neck collar. Often forms mixed flocks with other species of geese, grazing in fields or gathering in wetlands. Complex taxonomy includes 4 subspecies: Richardson's, Taverners, Minima, and Aleutian. Richardson's is most common in central North America, and regular in small numbers in the east. It can show a silvery cast to the upper parts, and a narrow or diffuse white neck collar. Taverners is the largest cackling subspecies and usually rather pale, very similar to lesser, or parvipes, Canada goose but averages stubbier build. Minima is smallest and darkest, usually with no neck collar. Well-named Aleutian breeds in the Aleutian Islands, and winters along west coast of North America and Japan. It is typically rather dark overall with a bold white neck collar. Striking and distinctive goose, bold black and white head and neck pattern unlike any other goose. Also note orangey yellow bill and legs. In flight appears mainly pale gray with broad black trailing edge to wings. Breeds around lakes and marshes on highland plateaus. Winters in lowland wetlands and fields. Native to East and South Asia, but escapees from waterfowl collections are occasionally seen free-flying elsewhere in the world. Stocky goose that inhabits rocky coastlines, lagoons, and tidal flats. Striking white head, black throat, and petite pink bill, blue-gray body with intricate black and white bars, a white tail, and bright orange legs. Face sometimes stained orangish-brown. Juvenile has a gray head, but still shows white tail. Breeds on marshy tundra and winters in small flocks on coastal waters. Rarely seen outside Alaska. Medium-sized goose with two strikingly different color morphs. White morph generally more common. Adults have black wingtips, pink bill and legs, and often show yellowish staining on the head. Juveniles have dull brownish bill and legs and variable grayish smudging on body and wings. Dark morph adults are dark slaty gray with a white face. Juveniles are entirely dark, typically found in flocks, sometimes numbering into the thousands, but individuals may be found with other geese species. Occurs in fields, marshes, and lakes during migration in winter. Breeds on Arctic tundra. Compare with Ross goose, which is like a cuter miniature version of snow goose. Pay attention to the bill. Snow goose has a longer bill with a more curved border, where it meets the face, and a more pronounced dark, grin patch. But beware, Ross can show a small grin patch too. Cute miniature version of snow goose with smaller body, shorter neck, and stubbier bill. Pay special attention to the bill, short, with a straighter border where it meets the face, a much less obvious dark, grin patch, and often bluish-gray color at the base. Also note clean white head. Snow goose typically has yellowish staining on face. Hybrids with snow goose are rare but regular. Some intermediates might be best left unidentified. Dark morph Ross is extremely rare, typically found in flocks, but individuals may be found with other geese species, frequently in large mixed flocks with snow geese. Occurs in fields, marshes, and lakes during migration in winter. Breeds on Arctic tundra. Large gray goose, rather bulky and overall brownish gray with a big pinkish-orange bill and pinkish legs. In flight shows extensively pale gray leading edge to upper wings, rather pale underwing coverts, and broad white tail tip. Compared to other gray geese, which differ in details of bill pattern and color, head and neck pattern, and of dark underwings. Inhabits lakes, marshes, and wetlands, and even urban parks in parts of its European range. Large, slender-necked goose typically found in inland areas with expansive wetlands, fields, and lakes, gathers in large flocks during migration and on its wintering grounds, sometimes mixed with other waterfowl. The bicolored head and neck, dark brown above and tan below, and long dark bill distinguish this species from other geese in its range. Domestic forms, sometimes called Chinese geese, vary in plumage from all white to mottled to brown. Most have a large bulb above the bill that is not found on wild birds, and have stockier bodies and necks. Generally uncommon medium-sized goose, dark chocolate brown with a white forehead and bubblegum pink bill, similar to greater white-fronted goose. Lesser is slightly smaller and shorter-necked, with a rather small, stubby bill, a distinct but narrow yellow ring, and a more extensive white forehead, usually seen as singles or small groups among flocks of other geese. Breeds in scrubby tundra in winters and agricultural fields, salt marshes, and drier areas adjacent to wetlands. Gives high squeaks, often while in flight. Medium-sized goose with extensive range across the northern hemisphere. On adults note bright orange legs, white face, and variable amount of black splotching on belly. Bill color varies from orange to pinkish. Immatures lack white face and black on belly and have duller orange legs and bill. superficially similar to domestic barnyard geese, but smaller without the enormous pot-bellied appearance of domestic birds. Bill color is helpful to separate from both species of being goose and pink-footed goose. Also compare with very similar lesser white-fronted goose in Europe and Asia, which is smaller and more compact, and has a stubby bill and yellow wing. Breeds in tundra and tundra habitats, winters in fields, agricultural areas, and wetlands, usually found in flocks, sometimes mixed with other species of geese. Rather large, dark gray-brown goose with variable orange patch on bill, often extensively orange, unlike typical tundra being goose, and orange legs. In flight lacks contrasting pale fruing areas of pink-footed goose and gray-lag goose. Not always safely told in the field from tundra being goose, but tga averages a longer, more sloping bill, versus the shorter and thicker bill of tundra. Breeds in tga in winters in farmland and wetlands, where it associates readily with other geese. Relatively small and short-necked goose with contrasting dark brown head and neck, small black bill with pink band near tip, and pink legs. In flight shows extensively pale silvery upper wings. Breeds in Greenland, Iceland, and Spitsbergen. Winters mainly in coastal lowlands with farmland and marshy grassland. In main areas, occurs in flocks of hundreds or even thousands. Elsewhere, singles or family groups. Can be found among flocks of other geese, rare but increasing winter visitor to northeastern North America, almost always with flocks of Canada geese. Rather large, dark gray-brown goose with typically small orange patch on bill and orange legs. In flight lacks contrasting pale fruing areas of pink-footed goose and gray-lag goose. Not always safely told in the field from bean goose, but tundra averages a shorter and thicker bill versus the longer, more sloping bill of Ka. Breeds on tundra and winters in farmland and wetlands, where it associates readily with other geese. Rather large, dark gray-brown goose with variable orange patch on bill, often extensively orange, unlike typical tundra bean goose, and orange legs. In flight lacks contrasting pale fruing areas of pink-footed goose and gray-lag goose. Not always safely told in the field from tundra bean goose, but Ka averages a longer, more sloping bill versus the shorter and thicker bill of tundra. Breeds in Ka and winters in farmland and wetlands, where it associates readily with other geese.